Welcome to Bible Q&A. And I feel like sitting for this one. It's just kind of how I feel today. So, I feel really tiny though. Anyway, question that comes to me, posted in the chat room today, says, what does Genesis chapter 3, verse 15 mean? And does it mean that Satan has a particular hatred towards women? So I'm like, what? I go and I read it. This is Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. You and this woman will hate each other. Your descendants and hers will always be enemies. One of hers will strike you on the head, and you will strike him on the heel. This is God talking to the serpent when he's telling the serpent in the garden how he will be judged and how he will be punished for leading humanity astray. Now, this passage is actually very significant to an understanding of the Bible. Now, obviously, if you don't get it, it doesn't mean that you don't get the Bible, but it's like a huge foreshadowing event taking place here. One of the things that makes the Bible such an amazing book is that there's prophecy in it. And not all prophecy is predictive. Not all prophecy is about, predicting events that will occur very far into the future. But some of it is. And this is foreshadowing. This is an event. This is God declaring a reality that will be realized. This is God telling the serpent and also telling Adam and Eve exactly what's going to happen. Now, a lot of people believe, and correctly, that the serpent was Satan who tempted humanity into falling away. And one of the big reasons for that is because we see Satan, doing this several times in the Bible. We see Satan, testing people. He tested Adam and Eve, and he tempted them and tested them to see if they would really listen to God, and they didn't. He also tests Job in the book of Job, and then we also see it again when Jesus spends 40 days and 40 nights in the desert in the Gospel of Matthew. We see Satan come out of the woodwork again to tempt God himself. So this is Satan, and let's read it. Let's read it exactly how it is, but just with some different words. Satan and the woman will hate each other. And just get out. Your descendants and hers will always be enemies. One of hers will strike you on the head, and you will strike him on the heel. Now, you could say, okay, well, this is God saying that humanity and snakes are always going to hate each other. Snakes are never going to be, tame, and human beings are always going to kill them the second they see them. And honestly, I think we're more on terms of that relationship with spiders than anything else. But what God is really saying here, hone in on this: strike you on the head, and you will strike him on the heel. The main idea at work here is God is saying that there will be justice. That ultimately what will happen is that a human being, a descendant of Eve, will rise up and will defeat one of the serpent's descendants, so to speak, and that the serpent will wound him. But it doesn't say that the serpent will kill him. You will strike him on the heel, but it doesn't say you will kill him. It simply says you will strike him. He'll get hurt, but he'll overcome. So what we have here is actually God foreshadowing what Jesus was going to do. I know, right? It's crazy. In theology, this is called like the proto-evangelion or the proto-evangelium. It's got different words in different traditions, but the idea is this is a foreshadowing of the gospel story, that Jesus, the Son of Man, would rise up and on the cross conquer death and thus conquer Satan, the serpent. And so, in light of what Jesus did on the cross, this reads in a totally different light. This is God saying to Adam and Eve right there in the garden, eventually a human being is going to come. And this person will make right this wrong. They'll defeat the serpent, and Honestly, I think that was a merciful thing of God to do. He gave Adam and Eve hope. He gave them hope to go on. He told them, one of your descendants is going to do something to right this wrong, that there will be justice. A lot of people like to talk about how God in the Old Testament is unjust, but this is an example of God saying straight up that there will be justice. Obviously, you don't want to stretch it too far, because at the end of the day, this is foreshadowing. God isn't revealing the whole plan. He's just revealing a very, very slight piece. Enough that there's hope. And you see it all throughout the Old Testament. As the Old Testament goes on, you see more and more about this hope. And as it goes on, you actually learn more and more about this human being who's coming, Moses tells them when they're wandering in the desert that one day a person will come who will be, even greater than me, and you must listen to him. So then Moses puts it in the context of this guy is going to be a prophet. And then Isaiah and some of the later prophets of Israel lay it out, and they start explaining this concept of the Messiah, a redeemer who's going to fix everything. And then, of course, finally we get to Jesus, and all of it's realized in him. So that's what this is. Now, back to the specific question, does it mean that Satan has a particular hatred towards women? Well, I don't think that means that Satan has a particular hatred towards women. I think that what it means, once again, is it's in that language. It's cryptic, because it's foreshadowing. It's cryptic. But I think it's safe to conclude that what it does mean is that Satan is no friend of humanity, and that humanity and Satan will always be at odds. And we see that play out when Paul writes his letters. He often refers to, the spiritual powers, Satan and his kingdom, talking about how Christians are waging a kind of war against that kingdom, and how they are at odds. And we see it with Jesus interacting with demons, and with Satan himself being tempted out in the desert. It's a very antagonistic relationship, which is funny, because we don't get along with God. We don't get along with Satan either, We don't get along with anyone. We're misfits. But that's what that's getting at. That there would be enmity, a lack of trust, not on good terms. So that pretty much lays that out. Like I said, maybe it is a bit fuzzy, but I did tackle this on the fly, so hopefully I can get a little leeway for that one. If you have any more questions, feel free to email me about it at clint@remedylive.com. Anyway, let's dive right into some more music, huh? Where were we here? I jumped all the way back up in the thing. Not that you know what I'm talking about anyway. I think we're here. I Am Empire with Sing is coming at you now. It's right here on Remedy Live, where we chat, we listen, and we love. This has been Bible Q&A.